Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott. Join us every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Learn more about the Experience community at our website, local.theexperience.video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Experience is brought to you each week by these great sponsors. Buddy Puckett at Guild Mortgage, 698 12th Street Southeast, Suite 100 in Salem. Give Buddy a call at 503-851-8031 and find him online at guildmortgage.com. The Aspects of Aging weekly talk show with Christine A. Smith. Unscripted conversations with experts. Live every Monday at noon Central on LinkedIn and YouTube. Learn more at agingbetternetwork.com. BestEntrepreneurSolutions.com. Nancy Bakke helps business owners attain their goals, create new business opportunities, generate higher conversion rates, and increase customer values. Learn how you can work with Nancy at BestEntrepreneurSolutions.com. And now let's get on with the show.
Hey, we're actually here hiding behind because we want to thank our sponsors one more time. Nancy Bakke, Guild Mortgage, Aspects of Aging. We're so thankful for them. There you go. Just wanted to make sure you got that. You got that ingrained in your brain. So Scott, how are you doing?
Graphic created by Ever. Thank you for all the work that you do behind the scenes to do the promotion for us. You know, it's a great day. I've got a ton of things going. I've got a couple of recording sessions for my show, The Experience, the Waco Experience, an American story, coming up this week. So that'll be fun, and just some great projects going on. What about you, Russ? What's going on in your world?
Well, I tell you, there's some great things happening. But I got to say, the most exciting thing for me right now is this Friday, Oregon State University. There it is. Friday, super regional for baseball, and I will be there at the game, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I actually get to see one of my college roommates who's going to be there that I haven't seen since our wedding. So it'll be pretty cool. Yeah, that's been a few years.
You know, the Beavers historically, in the last quite a number of decades, really, have had a great baseball team. And they've got to the point where Goss Stadium, which is a nice college baseball field, they are all set to add in extra seating right out behind second base. Lots of seating they add in there because they know there's so many people that are going to come.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, for sure. It's an amazing experience. It's really a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of live baseball. I don't really like to watch baseball on TV, but I am a big fan of live baseball. It is a great experience. So
I think any live sport, live concert, even if you don't like the style of music, if it's live, it's more fun.
It makes
if you're not a big fan of the sport, live is fun, especially something like this where it's you're leading into the championship. They're leading into the World Series. I can't watch baseball on TV, but what's funny is I love to go to live games, but I'll listen to games on the radio. There's something about the visualization of kind of what they're explaining about.
Right.
Baseball is all stats. So the announcers are always talking about, this, that, and all these different things, and the history of the game and the players and the stadiums. And I just find that fascinating. Plus, you can get other projects done.
There you go. It's amazing. And some people out there may be asking, Scott, what does this have to do with the experience? Well, everything, because this is all about the experience of life.
That's right.
What are we experiencing? Our guest today, Lynn, is going to tell you amazing things about what she is doing and what she's experiencing. But you know what? Right now, Scott and I are telling you about what's going on in our lives. And this is, you know what? Everybody has to focus, be intentional, and be present on what's going on right now in your life. And that is so important. I want to thank you for being here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time or 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time for your viewing and listening pleasure. That's right. After this goes live, then it converts to audio podcast. Well, first it sits on all the LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook for a video podcast. So you can go back and watch, comment, and engage there even after the live. But then it converts to audio podcast. You can listen on Spotify. We would love for you to do that and share that with your friends as well. And if you want more information on us, you can go to local.theexperience.video about all of Scott's and my shows on the experience, as well as other shows that I do and Scott does, and information about us. We'd love for you to do that. And you can join our YouTube page directly at theexperience.video. We would love for you to do that as well. Right, Scott?
You know, it's just, it helps everything. And share your YouTube channel with us as well. We would love to follow back. We'd love to reciprocate. Here's one of the interesting facts. If you have a YouTube channel with at least 100 followers, you're like in the top 10%, I think, of YouTubers around the world. So,
wow, that's
doesn't
amazing.
take much, but we can do it together.
Together we can. And speaking of together, we would not be able to do this show weekly without our amazing sponsors. And on Scott's and my show that airs Mondays, The Experience Local, live with Russ and Scott, one of our sponsors here on today's show is also our gift sponsor. And they're offering Ironhead Roofing $500 off your new roof. And here's some information on that. Thank you, Ironhead Roofing, our new gift sponsor, for this special $500 off a new roof. Take advantage today. And guess what? All you got to do is comment Monday, anytime during the day on the show, whether it's live or replay on Monday, and you will be qualified. Who doesn't need $500 off their new roof, right, Scott?
Absolutely. It's a veteran-owned and the most trusted roofing company in Oregon.
That's
So,
right.
hey, we've got, let's move along to our guests.
All right, we're going to do that. Lynn is here today, and I am so excited. Lynn Lambrecht, here she comes. Good morning, Lynn.
Hello,
okay,
Lynn.
so I'm still in the frame of listening to baseball games, because you have to realize my dad was a dentist, and he used to play live baseball games in his office to take away people's angst of sitting.
That's beautiful. I love that.
That's so exciting. I'd be ready to jump out of the dentist chair, though. I'd be so excited. So, Lynn, how are you doing this morning?
I am wonderful. Thanks, you guys, for allowing me to join you.
Well, we're so glad you're here. Why don't we start at the very, very beginning, because that's a very nice place to start. Who is Lynn? What in the world are you up to?
You know, Lynn is a Midwesterner by birth, grew up on the Iowa border of Illinois, went to college in Florida and grad school in Ohio, and moved to California and started an aviation career. So I was I was privileged to be able to do that. And I have lived in 17 places in 35 years around the world. And my aviation experience really kind of gave me, pardon the, triteness of it, but it really showed me the world. And I would have been allowed to work on 6 continents, and I've traveled to 7. And I love waking up in the morning and being thankful for the day.
So you're in Southern California.
I am
in Temecula. This is a beautiful area down there. I was born in Southern Cal. I was born in the city of Orange.
Oh, wow, Scott, what a hoot. Okay.
Yep. And my uncle lived in Corona. So
you're just a little bit north of me.
Yeah, not far from you there. So what was your education, and what did you do in aviation?
Well, in my education, undergrad was organizational communication, and I ran residence halls. I was an RA in undergrad and a head res in grad school, and that gave me a lot of crisis intervention training. which was interesting. I am the youngest in my family. People in my family are more science-driven, doctors, dentists, nutrition, blah, blah, blah. And then here I'm kind of the little rebel out doing my own thing. Grad school, I went to school for higher ed administration and student personnel initially. And I finished my program in a year, except for one course. So I ended up taking MBA stuff on the side. And when I started with Northwest Airlines in San Francisco, I was in sales and was assigned to corporations, government, military installations, travel agencies, tour operators. I had the Hawaii wholesalers also in a designated territory. And
I like that.
hey, this little Midwesterner, it was like my first time to Hawaii, was having to take people on familiarization tours and things. So, yeah. And when I started with Northwest, they had given me a call because they had noticed all of my crisis work in the past and asked me if I would consider becoming a volunteer emergency team responder. To which my answer was, well, certainly, but would you please tell me what that entails? And they said, well, if we have an aircraft crash, if we have a crash or an incident, you would be called on site to assist with families or be in the command center or help us on the ground. And I said, okay, certainly. So what was interesting is that when you're, fresh out of grad school, you're really not thinking about that piece. You're kind of getting used to whatever your job is and doing your thing and all of that. But I was called to help out with 2 different incidents in my 20s. So it brought a lot of awareness to me of what I now know planted the seed for what I'm doing today with the contingency work. And so I got promoted a lot, moved up and opened our office in Sacramento, moved down to LA and worked with our Asian accounts, moved to Cleveland to oversee Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, moved to Seattle to oversee the West Coast, changed countries and companies, moved to China with United Airlines first in the passenger and cargo freight sales stuff. And then I became the country manager. We had daily operations in Beijing and Shanghai. My boss moved me down to Hong Kong so that I could work over the Pacific South Divisional Office from really India all the way up through Australia, New Zealand, back up. And then my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So I did not want to be 8,000 miles away any longer. And my boss graciously helped tether me back to our headquarters location in Chicago so that I could help my mom and dad with that transition, teaching my mom things that, dad did every day that, were no longer going to be within his purview to do, and be there in support of my dad. And I worked the 9/11 crash. And all of these things kind of combined into this patchwork quilt of my life, which ultimately gave me a little food for thought and time to pause and say, why is it in our society that we are so frightened about talking about the possibility of what if? And the practical preparation piece is something that just comes really naturally to me. My brother and sister are convinced I was dropped by aliens because I love like that kind of detail-y thing. But there's an administrative side to life that we're not really taught about.
Right.
We don't understand that. What do you mean when I'm 18, I have real responsibilities to look after myself in very formalized ways per the law, but also just really practical ways. So I like trying to make that easy for people so that we have an understanding of what's at risk and what we can gain by actually taking some action in advance.
Well, I love that because, you talk about on your LinkedIn page, planning for the unplanned. And you said you worked through 9/11 crash. That was definitely unplanned and a chaotic time. Talk a little bit about those things and how you relate those to what people are encountering today.
I think that, what's interesting, what is that old saying, the best laid plans of mice and men, it sometimes can get interrupted. And I think what I have found, what was interesting for me in comparison to the first 2 instances I had worked in my 20s, 9/11 brought in a whole new level with terror. And, as a country, we weren't really prepared for that. As a society, we weren't really prepared for that. And as just people, we don't want to think about that stuff. I mean, we don't want to go to that dark place. And yet it occurred. So, I mean, as a result of that, my division of United was closed. So I didn't have a job. So there were many impacts of, what happened, with that. It's not, we don't know what we don't know. And the other part of my LinkedIn is I say we can't predict, but we can prepare. And I think that I don't want to ever have us live in fear. I am way too optimistic for that. But I would much rather have us understand that we don't know when disability might occur or death is going to happen. We know it's when, it's not if, it's when, but we also don't know about natural disasters. And let's just play on the fun side. We don't know if we want to take a sabbatical. So if any of those things are happening, how do we set up things in life so that people can step in and help us? How do we make sure they have the proper authorizations to be able to do that from, a legal standpoint? But, what are the actions we need to take to make sure that things are ready to go, just in case?
We had a guest on the show, and he has a practice, and he said, this may be the last opportunity I have to say this. So let me just say thank you. And whether you use those words or not, I loved that attitude. I was working at Hewlett Packard running supply chain operations on September 11th, 2001. And I remember I was at a coffee shop meeting with friends, a regular weekly meeting. My phone rings, and it's my mother, and she says, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center. And I was thinking of that World War II bomber that crashed into the Empire State Building, and it was not a big deal. I mean, there were, death and tragedy and things, but it wasn't the collapse that we witnessed. So that was in my mind. I thought, oh, okay, it's like that. And then the second plane came in. I went into work, and we called together that team. And I remember writing on the whiteboard 9-11 and saying, we will never forget this day. But we had to look and say, okay, here's what can't happen. So what can we do? Because the production line that is not producing is costing millions of dollars a day to the company.
Well, and think of the pandemic.
Right.
Here we were with COVID, and people were shut down and moving home and all of that kind of stuff. And operationally, I mean, were the systems ready to go? I think people, kind of found their way. But, risk mitigation is something that in business practice is usually there. I mean, I remember the whole prep for the Y2K thing. I mean, remember how everybody thought the world was going to end when we changed from 1999 to 2000? It's just, there are big events that we may or may not be aware of, but I think it's all the little things in life. For me, it was knowing that what my mom and dad took as medications. Let's just get into our day-to-day life here for a second. And when they were hospitalized, that we had arranged for me to have permission to be notified, and that I could have stepped in and I could make decisions for them should that be needed, should they not have mental capacity. What were their past surgeries? What is this? What is that? I mean, so much of our day-to-day life is up in autopilot that, we have amazing professionals out there. We have the financial planning people that help you set up, financially. We have the insurance protection people that help you set up that way. We have the attorneys that do all of that. We have, even our end of life people. But who threads it and actually looks at the impact to your day-to-day life? And that's what I love to do that makes me a little different. But it also helps people be prepared for when their kids are turning 18 and they've got their independence. Maybe it's my old RA days. There are responsibilities that come with that. When we are young adults and maybe having first children and things, what do we need to do to protect them? Oh, What do you mean my parents are sick? What do I need to do to help them? We have so many stages within life. And as this year has, shown me just a little north of me, I mean, fire can be devastating. And as we experienced down south last year with the hurricanes even hitting North and South Carolina, who was prepared, for that? And if you all of a sudden don't have a home to go home to, where are your documents? How do you know what you have and what you can do to prove for insurance claims? I mean, it's just there's a ton of our goofy day-to-day things that come into play that impact our lives, whether we cognizantly think of it or not. So I love to get into those details and just make sure that we've got our ducks in a row and quacking.
Well, I love that. My mama used to always say that, get your ducks in a row. And, I tell you that some of these life situations that we didn't plan for can really throw you if you don't have good people like you around them, right? And one of those for me was my parents aging. My dad had cancer, and then mama was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And working through that whole journey with them was quite a ended up being a blessing for me because of the people I had in my life that helped me do the planning and time to make things happen for them. And if I had not had people like you, Lynn, in my life helping me and telling me what I didn't know what I didn't know. So there were people there telling me what I didn't know and what I needed to plan for. That made a huge, huge difference in my life. And
it's stressful. It's so stressful when something happens, and we envision trying to, like go into the gym and being all buff and having our 6-pack abs. Well, guess what? We don't go to the gym once and have that happen. This is an ongoing kind of process. And the one thing that I've learned is that, hey, we don't want to make decisions in amidst a crisis, or if we do, they might not be the decisions that best serve us. So when we can look in advance to just not dwell, but just say, okay, so if this were to occur, what needs to be in place? So I'm terribly I mean, I just find lemonade out of all lemons and I try to make things good, but I also want people to have a clear understanding and not feel ignorant. I remember when I was moving to China and I was talking to mom and dad, and they really didn't want to have these conversations. My dad had been in World War II as a B-17 tail gunner. And, hey, I was the last oops child anyway. So I knew I was other as born and all their legal documents. And I said, I don't care about that. I just care about the national and the state laws that have changed since you've done your documents. How do we make sure that things are up to date? Would you please allow me to help you do that? So they gave permission. And I said, tell me, why didn't you do this before? And it was very humbling to hear. I didn't want people to think that I wasn't protecting my family and I wasn't sure what to ask. And I didn't want to appear to be ignorant. And I thought, okay, we have, I talk with attorneys all the time. I talk with these people all the time. I understand the lingo and understand some of the process, but most of us don't. So how do we as lay people actually have access to the information to make us feel like we can be engaged in the conversation and be a participant and not just an observer that doesn't know what's going on?
I sent a LinkedIn request to connect with you, and I'll make an introduction to my wife, Christine Smith. She runs her show, The Aspects of Aging. And this came about from, so she's a school teacher. Then she turned a paid caregiver. She worked in about 100 homes.
Okay. Wow.
And a lot of the families were asking the same questions, like, who's going to take care of me? And so she wrote a book, The 52 Aspects of Aging. And, there's a lot of preparation you can do around the mechanical sides. Well, write a will, do a living trust, do these financial planning, business succession plans, and so forth. One of the things she said is, no one prepares you for the emotions of getting older. Like, and some of the planning that needs to be done. Say, for instance, your social media accounts. What do you want done? Some people will say, well, I want them preserved because it's kind of a history of my life. And other people are like, just delete it because when I'm gone, they're irrelevant. Well, how do we know what to do?
We give a roadmap. And honestly, I always affectionately call it leaving my trail of breadcrumbs, because truly, I mean, it's like the trail of breadcrumbs for my day-to-day life of how do they get into where I live? How do they know where I park? How do they know this? How do they know that? But what's made it interesting, Scott, especially with social media accounts, is so many of them, we have our terms of agreement that we just click yes, 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 yes to, and don't even pay attention to what it means. And each of those organizations have different rules then that, we are supposed to abide by, even though we haven't read them, but we've clicked yes. So, many of them are now adding in legacy contacts so that you can assign someone in advance.
My daughter has my Facebook. She's my legacy on Facebook.
Yep. I mean, and LinkedIn has it too. I mean, there are legacy accounts on a lot of different accounts now, but our states also within the legal process have digital asset power of attorney and things of that nature. And I'm still waiting to get an answer from my attorney on, okay, so if I have my digital assets power of attorney through the state of California and I have a legacy contact and they differ, who wins? I'm not sure of that answer yet, you guys. When I get it, I'll let you know. But so, I mean, there's a lot of little gaps that are being filled at this time. But, it's our day-to-day life stuff. We're busy. We're out there. We're everywhere. Now what?
Yeah, I'm telling you. Well, a day in the life of Lynn, Russ, and Scott. Who knows where it's going to go? Only God knows. And we're thankful for people like you, Lynn. And as we get ready to wrap up the show for today, I got to be the responsible host and give you a moment to give us your gold nugget of the day, which you really want people to remember from our discussion. And then how do people get in touch with you so they can reach out?
I want you to live your life fully every day, embrace it. And yet, you know what? Also, always be prepared, because there's that crazy side of not knowing what you don't know.
Right.
To reach me, you can find me, get a hold of me on my work number is area code 951-400-5966. You can call or text that and I'll get back to you. My website is thelivingplanner.com. I have offerings there, but you can also reach out on a contact me page. And yeah, I'm on all the socials as the Living Planner. So feel free to send me a DM anytime.
And give us your phone number one more time.
951-400-5966. That's my work number.
We'll get that on there as well. And such a blessing, Lynn. I'm telling you, you are really a light that people need during some difficult, challenging times in their life. And I'm so thankful that you are on today. I encourage everybody to reach out to Lynn. You know what? Everything has been in the show notes, has been in the comments. It's ticking along the bottom. We're going to get the phone number up on the screen in a moment. And I tell you, in fact, here it goes. There we go. And I encourage you to reach out to Lynn today and make sure you have somebody in your corner when you really, really need it. So, Lynn, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And what you guys are doing with the experience is amazing. So
thank
you guys, it's time for us to subscribe and make sure that we're backing them up too.
Thank you. Well, listen, we're going to send you to the green room, but hang tight for just a minute. We'll be right there.
So we got that phrase that Lynn is living this out, where it's think globally, but act locally. And so she definitely has that global perspective, but locally, working in your own life, the lives of your friends and family, so important.
Oh my goodness. Yes, 100%. And, as a person who's had many major things happen in the last few years of my life, I just respect so much what Lynn is doing and helping people out. Without people telling me that I didn't know what I didn't know, I would have been completely lost, especially through my parents' early failing. I would have been completely lost. But instead, everything worked out really, really well because people helped guide me along the way that knew what they were doing. So I just appreciate Lynn. Everybody needs to reach out to her. And Scott, just want to remind everybody, we are here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time or 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time. That's right. You can also go to local.theexperience.video for all the information on Scott and I and on these shows. We'd love for you to do that, and also subscribe to our YouTube page. You can do it at either the local.theexperience.video or go directly to the experience.video today. That'll take you straight to our YouTube page. And listen, we always have tons of fun here every week. So you don't want to miss an episode, right, Scott?
Absolutely. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe, share it with your friends, share your LinkedIn, your YouTube channels. We'll subscribe to those as well. We're all in this together. And thank you to Lynn for being such a fabulous guest today.
There you go. That's right. And until next week, Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time. Have a blessed and amazing week and enjoy
the experience.
Woohoo!
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.